Hey YouTube, it's Ben. Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why I completely stopped cold calling. So as most of you know, I am in the recruiting business. I run a recruiting agency, so I constantly have to be reaching out to new prospects, potential clients, and candidates as well, but I don't cold call by any means whatsoever. To preface this video a little bit more, I used to be in cold call advertising sales, calling random small businesses completely out of the blue. They were not expecting it, terrible experiences, low sales, doesn't convert, not best practice. Listen, so the phone has evolved over time just like the internet has. So when people get calls on their phone, they're highly unexpected unless it's this. If it's a number that's unrecognizable, or even worse, an unknown number, or even worse than that, a scam likely number, it's just terrible to be able to look at your phone and even think about answering that phone call. Just for 1 second, think about your clients. Your clients find it incredibly irritating. First off, they don't like phone calls to begin with on a personal level. They definitely don't like them in the business realm either. As humans, we have something called phone etiquette, which essentially means that it's really rude to hang up on someone. It's really off-putting to receive a random phone call, and it's just not normal anymore like it used to be in the 1990s and 1980s and early 2000s. That was a different time. Send me a text message and I'll respond to you all day long, but if you want to call me, that's a different story. Another reason that I do not cold call prospects is that it's just not sustainable. As a recruiter, I have to follow up with so many prospects, it's ridiculous. If I were to have to call each and every one of them over and over and over, having them already recognize my phone number, knowing who I am, knowing exactly what I want to talk about, my chances of having a conversation with them are literally slim to absolute zero. If your prospect is interested to work with you and you've had a warm email conversation that led to a phone call and then you're following up via phone, then you have a decent chance of getting that call answered. In business, cold calling can totally damage your reputation. Think about it for a second. If you run a recruiting agency and you're consistently just cold calling companies over and over and over, the same companies all the time, trying to reach the decision maker, trying to get past the gatekeeper and all that stuff, and they know who you are, what your company name is, they're going to basically blacklist you. They're not going to want to take your calls, and they're definitely going to give you a really bad image in their head. One of the biggest reasons that I do not cold call in recruiting anymore: efficiency. After literally running a time clock and calculating the exact time, I can send anywhere between 4 to 5 automated cold email templates out in the time it takes for me to make one cold call and possibly leave a voice message. Like, those are really bad stats. That basically means that I could make 20 cold calls, which people hate anyways, or I could send 60 cold emails, which people love and appreciate because I'm not banging down their throat with my phone pitch. At the end of the day, I really look at it this simply. It's a point of obligation. If someone gets a phone call from me and they don't answer it or they don't return it after a voicemail, they just don't want to talk. If they do, great. However, if I send them a cold email, they also have no obligation whatsoever to respond. But if they do, that's great too. There's no purpose or no advantage to trying to get them on the phone rather than having them over email. Especially when people are just used to dealing with email and digital communication anyways. When I used to cold call for advertising sales, the biggest hurdle was the gatekeeper. Now, this person's job is literally just to keep you away from all the decision makers at the company. They will do anything and everything they can to not get you on the phone with that person. So unless you have a direct line to John Smith, the owner of the company, you are not getting in contact with a decision maker. Not to mention, even if you do have John Smith's phone number, it's not likely he's going to answer his phone or return a voicemail from you. Again, I say this with 5 years of cold call experience. When it comes to getting really technical about things, it's actually extremely difficult to convey a value proposition over the phone simply with voice. It's much better to actually send someone a cold email, get a response, set up a Zoom video call, and actually have a real face-to-face conversation. Now, I do realize that there are tons of people that will totally disagree with me on this, and I'll hear a bunch of it in the hate comments, but I'm totally okay with that because my efficiency levels with cold email are through the roof, and I love it. To anyone out there that cold calls all day long and gets success from it, mad props to you. That's great. It's wonderful. I'm not putting you down whatsoever. I'm simply saying that the majority of the time, cold email wins out over cold calling. I honestly think that it's time to say cold calling is out of date. If you are selling a service or a product or a solution of some sort and you're cold calling, all you have to do is simply put yourself in the shoes of the customer. Understand what it would look like to have a random number pop up on your phone, knowing nothing about who it is, and basically screening the call for the voicemail, then listening to the voicemail, and then finding out it's just a salesperson or someone that wanted to follow up, and it's not something that you're interested in. And if you had gotten on that phone call, how much of a nightmare would that have been if you weren't actually willing to just hang up on the person? Now, because I don't want to make this video entirely just negativity about cold calling, I want to offer a positive. Cold email and other forms of connection are way, way better, such as LinkedIn connecting or cold emailing. These things are super productive, super efficient, and get me tons of results. Mainly the reason for that is because people are used to doing business that way now. People are used to getting LinkedIn connections with notes where they can understand who you are before they have to hop on a phone call with you. People enjoy reading a nice cold email that explains who you are, what you do, what you want before they decide whether to call you back or not. Again, I go back to my same example about obligation. Whether you cold call someone or cold email them, they are under no obligation to respond. So if you have a better efficiency rate at cold emailing people, why would you not be doing that all day long rather than cold calling them when they have no obligation either way to respond? Getting your elevator pitch out in a cold email or in a note on LinkedIn is as simple as can be. It's 1, 2, 3. Trying to do that on a cold call is absurd, it's intrusive, and it's ridiculous. Once again, I say, put yourself in the shoes of the customer and see what you would prefer. In my opinion, cold calling is dead. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the alert button so that you know every single time I come out with a new video. Until then.